Hello, Marilyn. I'm so pleased to have you on board today. Where are you calling from?
Hi, Sylvan. I'm calling from Stockholm, which is my hometown. Has been for a long time now.
But I sense I don't hear a Swedish accent.
No, I cheat. English is my mother tongue. That's cheating, isn't it? Ooh, okay. You have to bear in mind that I'm 82. So I've been doing this stuff for a long time. So a very short trip. I've worked since the late 1980s. I've worked a lot with questions of sustainable development, and it wasn't called that then. We called it something else. And particularly focused on the people skills that are necessary to bring about a more sustainable world. So it's far too often we see that projects for sustainable development focus on technical or administrative solutions, and that they're introduced, and then 2 years later, people wake up and say, oh, but people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So it didn't work anyway. And that's our starting point. You know, actually, if you bring in the people skills and you get the people involved first by different means, through leadership, through community programs, through behavior change programs, through team building, everything you can think of that is getting people together to do stuff effectively. That's what we do.
Getting people to do stuff effectively.
Yes. Okay, well, I think it takes us back to where we started this conversation some time ago, which is it's partly about having a vision.
Yeah.
We saw a situation in Sweden that over many decades where the Social Democratic Party had an incredible vision for the future of Sweden, which was based on solidarity, equity, participation, participative democracy, the whole thing. Yeah. And it went amazingly. I mean, Sweden was when I moved to Sweden, it was kind of one of the richest countries in the world, from having been one of the poorest countries in Europe just 3 decades earlier. Amazing. And what happened was that Sweden actually reached its vision and then lost its way.
Okay. That's
my interpretation. That's not a fact. That is my opinion. So the vision is this was something that struck me very forcibly the first time I was invited to craft my own vision for my own future.
Right.
It is that this is not a goal. It's something quite different from goals, ambitions, objectives, blah. It's not about where I'm going, but the star that I'm going to steer by.
The guiding star.
Yeah. So that's what makes it visionary. Yeah.
Yes.
And so if you reach there, then you have to turn around really quick and find yourself another star, because otherwise there you are. There's nowhere to go.
But I imagine when you set yourself that guiding star, it was big enough, as big as the world, no?
Sort of. Well, it was at Fintorn, actually, a community that many have probably heard of, at a workshop there. And the workshop facilitators, I think it was in the mid or late 1980s, invited each of us to consider what was our vision, and they gave us some guidelines. And I settled on the description, which is, what kind of society would you like to live in? Mm-hmm. Totally removed from all reality. Just what kind of, and it was very simple after I'd meditated on it for a while and discussed it with a few people. And it's been my guiding star ever since. Mm-hmm. And it is, and of course, I'll never get there. That's the point. So my vision is that I want to live in a society where everybody finds it normal, natural, and joyful to live in harmony with themselves and each other and all other beings. Yeah. So that's my vision. And it kind of makes it easy. You know, an idea for a project comes up, or would you like to do this piece of work, or would you like to enter into a new relationship, whatever. The question is always, does it take me towards that star, or or away from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, we've worked a lot with children also with this. And what is noticeable is that many children, and it's probably a symptom of the age we live in, many children find it very hard to describe a desirable future. In fact, some children, it's quite common that they take the piece of paper that they're asked to draw it on, and they put a line down the middle, and one side is all sunny and the other side is all black.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And this, I worked for a long time with a professor of future studies. We worked together for about 10 years. His name is Warren Ziegler, and he pointed out to me something that was very important, and that is that every one of us carries within us multiple pictures of the future.
Yeah.
And they're often in conflict with each other, but we don't even notice because we only look at one at a time, usually. And this is very much in line with my own background, the psychological background. I studied psychosynthesis, and in psychosynthesis, there is the idea that each one of us has multiple sub-personalities. And each one of those is complete, and it has its own values, its own body language, its own even pitch and tone of voice, and its own visions of the future.
Yeah.
So what we invite people to do is to go to something that is what we call deep listening, which I also learned from Warren Ziegler. It's a discipline of listening either to somebody else or to yourself in a completely non-judgmental way. So you ask a question and then you just listen, you just soak up what comes. And so we teach that, and we invite people to listen to some variety. They reformulate the question, always you reformulate it for yourself, but some version of the question, what pictures, images of the future do I carry inside me? And we don't ask them to categorize them, and we make a point of saying that you will find at least 3. Which is true. I've never found anybody who had fewer than 3. Just let them come and make a note of them. And then afterwards we can work and sort them into, some of them are about our hopes, and they can be quite visionary. Right. And some of them are about our fears, and they could be really the black side of the picture that these kids draw. And some of them are about our expectations, what we expect to happen. And if what we expect to happen is the same as what we hope for, then we have no incentive to take any action. We just need to wait and everything will be hunky-dory.
Yes.
But if our expectations are the same as our fears, then we have no energy to take any action, because, it's all going to hell anyway. And everything is going, humanity's coming to an end, everything's black. Okay. You're never going to be good at anything, or whatever the particular blackness is of that person. So what we need to do then is to work together to find, okay, how can we create a balance between the hopes and the fears?
Right.
And when there is a balance between them, then things happen. Wow.
This reminds me of the responsibility of hope.
Yeah.
That of course, she's a great American writer, and I forgot her name. So
yeah,
that I'll put that in the note. But there's hope becomes equals activating things. Hope invites you to do stuff.
Yes, it's true, as long as you're clear about what you mean by hope. There is something that is sometimes referred to as toxic positivity.
Right.
So the hope needs to be something that I genuinely long for. It needs to come from inside me. It's not about, oh, well, the politicians will fix it and everything will be fine, or the engineers will fix it, or we'll all go and live on Mars, or whatever.
It's not an expectation. It's not an expectation then.
It's not an expectation. It needs to be a dream. The hope.
Yeah.
It needs to be connected to a vision.
Yeah.
And toxic positivity also affects individuals. You meet somebody with depression and you tell them, well, it's not so bad. Think of all these people who are worse off than you.
Yeah.
And it makes it twice as bad.
Okay. So I hear from you that envisioning really set the tone for you in all these years, and activating activating this vision on a daily basis for you was the discipline, right?
Yes, and I mean, even in my own behavior, I'm not there. I mean, I don't know who is. I think I've maybe met one or two people who are that I can admire tremendously. But, you know, being in a position to say I live in harmony with myself and with other people and with all other beings, right? And then sometimes I get mad or
under pressure. So what do you think is, just because I'm really interested in, actually, when go back to people, or when people watch this, they say, yeah, that's great. And then come Monday morning, 8 a.m. and it's back to the grind, back to the same Zoom meeting, back to the same. And then, you know, that discipline goes away. What's in the way of that discipline that we need to be aware of? You know, discipline of hope, that responsibility of hope, that activation. What's in the way of it?
I think often our ambitions. Once we formulated the vision, we think it's a goal and we should be there, and we berate ourselves. You did it wrong again. Boom,
Yes.
boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
And what we try to teach instead is, hey, you noticed. That's progress. You noticed that you weren't living up to your own visions.
Right.
That's progress.
Yeah.
Because in the act of noticing, you make it easier to do better next time.
Exactly, or differently, yeah, or try out something new.
Yeah.
So noticing, that's one action. That's, I mean, or being, making the space for noticing, be aware of noticing. That's one state of mind that you encourage, and that could be when it's not there. It's in the way of that envisioning practice. When you notice, what else works? What else?
It's interesting that you say that, because one of the things we've worked with a lot is behavior change. In fact, some people say that we are the world champions of behavior change. It's very nice, but it's not enough yet. But yes, we do know a lot about it, and we're learning all the time. But one of the things that, apart from all the models, the methods, the tools that we teach and use on a daily basis, I've come to believe that there are two words that actually summarize a lot of it when it comes to self-empowerment and your own behavior change. And you just summarize them too. One is intention, and the intention is supplied by the vision. I intend to work in such a way, or I intend to live in such a way that I will be moving closer to that vision, the intention. And the other is attention. So paying attention to what works and what doesn't work, and how well it works, and maybe why it doesn't. So intention and attention, I think, are absolutely key. So you summarized it very neatly.
I love this. That's why the Latin lesson back in the day were actually very useful. Is that also the prefix that gives us a little sign about what is the movement. So intention, you're really in there, and you're going to like surf on the wave with it.
Yeah.
The attention is directed. Direct your gaze, direct your soul, direct your activity towards something.
Yeah,
I love it. Excellent. So, Marilyn, is there anything more that you would like to add around envisioning, so to help us build something new?
Well, actually, I was going to get back to your question about the COVID and stuff, because
that's it. COVID and stuff.
One thing that we've been working on, we have a few projects, and two of our projects are concerned with what is often referred to as transformative learning. That is learning that takes us to a new space, that leads us, broadens our horizons, simply. And one project is focused on transformative learning online, because we asked ourselves the question, now that we are willy-nilly spending much more time online, we're delivering workshops online, we're running conferences online, we're doing all that stuff, talking to each other online. Yeah. How does that impact our capability to bring about transformative learning in the people we act with, react with, interact with? Mm-hmm. And it's really fascinating because what we're finding is that, yes, of course, as everybody knows, in some ways, it's not like meeting face to face. It's not like being able to give a real hug, you know.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we're also finding that there are advantages. Mm-hmm. And there are some things that are easier or better online than face to face. And this is, you know, we have something like 30 people conducting experiments around the world at the moment and feeding back to us what they're finding out. So this is very preliminary, but it's clear that there are some things that are better. One of them is to do with self-image. Some people's self-image, if you have a poor self-image, and especially if you're stigmatized for some reason, if your skin's the wrong color or you're the wrong size or shape or whatever,
all is wrong between, yeah,
then you might find it very difficult to take part in these kinds of exercises like envisioning and the kind of thing that goes quite deep and where you make yourself rather vulnerable. But in an online environment, you can choose to be anonymous. You don't even have to switch on the video. You can use an avatar. You can, and sometimes people go much deeper.
Yeah.
And we also found, we gave one course at a university, a business school. We'd given it 2 years in a row about working with futures, so visioning and stuff. And we'd given it 2 years in a row, face to face. And it's about 40 students every time. And it's only 2 days, so it's not so easy to go deep. But anyway, we'd done it 2 years, and then last year, of course, they wanted it online. And we put a lot of work into designing it online. And honestly, I think it worked better.
Right.
One thing was we could give the students a lot of freedom to move in and out of different discussions. You know, if you're sitting in a room with 40 people, you can't say, well, anytime you feel like discussing X, go to room that, because you'll have total chaos.
Yeah.
If you just have a set of Zoom rooms set up and each one has a name on it, anytime somebody thinks, yeah, I don't want to be here in the plenary, I want to go and see who wants to discuss this detailed question, they can just go there. Yeah. So I think we're going to get back to meeting in real life. I hope, I want to give you a hug sometime. But I love this, that we can just drop in on each other for a half an hour on a weekday, and you're in UK, I guess, and I'm in Sweden. And
it happens.
Yes, I love it.
So Marilyn, yes, I hope to come and give you a hug very much so, and sooner rather than later, and also in Sweden. I love that. And in the meantime, how can people find you online? Oh,
we have a website, which is, our organization is actually a cooperative association of people working very seriously with these questions that I mentioned about getting people to do stuff.
Yeah.
And the association is called Legacy17 in one word. Yeah. And the website is legacy17.org.
Fantastic.
And you can always reach me there.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marilyn. It was lovely to hear you talking about envisioning and all that, the discipline behind it, the attention, the intention, and the hope.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.